Jambo, jambo, that's in Kiswahili. In English, it means hello. So welcome to our channel. If you are new, this is African Moms World. And today we are on another video. Thank you for coming to watch. If you are new here, we talk about African moms. But I want to clarify, when I say African moms, what do I really mean? So we will be talking about the African woman, whether she's a mom or she's a girl, but it's the African girl child. So generally we'll be talking about African women. So you'll see me sometimes talking about different topics. Sometimes we will talk about other women, who they think, why they think they are a typical African woman, whether we still have the original version of an African woman. We just want to see, is it over the generations, the meaning of what an African woman looks like, or what's the expectation of an African woman. So it will depend on different circumstances or different interviews that we'll be having. We will be visiting them at their places or inviting them to our show, and we'll show you exactly what someone thinks of an African woman. So to me, these are some of the expectations that I will be dealing with. We will be talking about the dress code. Like, this is an African wear. So being an African woman, is this what the expectation is? That you need to put on the African fabric. You can see this is an African dress. It is actually made from the cloth that we call kitenge. So you'll find most African women putting on this. You can see it's wide. I'm not able to stand, but it's actually free. So is that what an African woman is? We will find out. So the African woman, it is expected that she puts on clothes that are not tight, below the knees. They do not have a slit or cuts on the side, but they are, well, let me call it fitting. Yeah, so an African woman is not expected to show her calves in whatever position, whether it's up or on the bodies or the behind. No. So we will be finding out if that's what the modern woman thinks of what being an African woman is, or will it be generational? Let us find out what African women think about the dress code. Then we'll be talking about their hair. How does the hair of an African woman look like? Is it like this one of mine? Short? Do they have a cut in it? Is it just natural hair? Do they do what you call matutas? Just, even if it's long, they just hold it and braid it, like 3 strands and braid it. How does an African woman look like in terms of her hair? Does she put on wigs? Is that the expectation? Does she do the braids, the long ones, the additional silky hair that they are putting? How does an African woman maintain their hair? Then we will also be looking at an African woman in terms of the chores. How does an African woman behave when it comes to duty? An African woman, is she the one who is supposed to wake up early, wash clothes for the children, wash clothes for the husband, wash utensils, sweep the compound, fetch water, whether it's in the river or around, ensure that there is water in the compound? Who is really an African woman when we are talking about house chores? When we look at cooking, what is the role of an African woman when it comes to food? Is she able to provide for the family? Is it the husband who provides, or is it her? And even if they are providing, how is the food cooked? An African woman is supposed to be one who is able to cook the African staple food until you can even eat it without a stew. So for our case, in Kenya, our staple food is ugali. That is a thick porridge-like stuff, which is made from corn or maize. It can also be made from sorghum or millet, or you can mix some of them. But how well is she able to cook it? And on what? Is it from the 3-stone? Is it from the jiko? Is it from the gas? How is an African woman rated in terms of the way she prepares food? Is it from the vegetables she makes? Is it just from the kales or the cabbage? Or is it generally from how she is able to prepare the indigenous vegetables? We'll also be finding out in terms of rating them on vegetables. Do they really know what the African vegetables are? The indigenous vegetables. Let's call them the traditional vegetables. Do they know them by name? African nightshade, or do we call them suja, saga, meat? This will depend on different regions. So we'll be looking at an African woman from different parts of, we'll start first in our country, that is Kenya, where we have 47 regions, those which we call counties, and then find out from the local community what they term as an African woman. We may also look at not only women, but even men. What's their perception? What does the boy child think of who an African woman is? Would they consider them for marriage? Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. Because if they are cooking vegetables, do they know them by name? Do they know what value they bring to their health? Because I guess that's the duty of an African woman, to ensure that her family is healthy. So does she know what each of the foods contains in terms of nutrients, so that when she's putting on the table, she knows that the family is having a balanced diet? We'll also be looking at how they're able to prepare it. There are different ways in which they are prepared in this country. At one time, if God allows, we'll be able to move to other regions and also find out who is an African woman in terms of when you visit Uganda, the different communities in Uganda, the Baganda, the Bagishu, Basoga. We'll find out. I will also to compare with our Kenya cultures, with the different East African countries and the other parts of Africa. What is the role of women when we are talking about food brought to the table and how it is contributing maybe to disease? Being a nutritionist, I would really want to know, where is the root cause of some of these illnesses that we are coming up with? Is it from our kitchens? Have we moved away from what the African woman was expected to do in terms of the local or the traditional foods that we eat? Are we now using too much fat? Are we going away from simple cooking methods? Maybe do we need to go back? Does the new generation need to know why things were at that time? We'll also look at maybe utensils and see what is the African woman using in terms of pots. Yeah, we may not exactly judge them, but let us just know. We need to know. And if you have anything that you think we need to add to this conversation as we move on, please feel free to let us know which direction we can take. If you want to join us on this channel, let us know. If you have an interview, suggestions, please put it in the comment section and we will be happy to work with you. We'll also be looking at gardening. You know, the African woman, this woman who was expected to prepare food, where does she get it? Does she still participate in gardening? We used to call it, it was called a kitchen garden. Is it still called a kitchen garden? A food garden? What is it? How much can she be able to participate in terms of bringing up the varieties of foods that she puts on the table? Or she just going to the local market to purchase? Is she still engaged in ensuring that her family is getting the fresh fruits? What actually is she engaging it to ensure that her family is able to get the variety that they deserve? Then we'll also be looking at, I think this one is an interesting, about the physical features. Who is an African woman when it comes to physical features? An African woman, if I recall, was one who was well endowed. And when we talk of well endowed, I hope you understand. It is one who is, built. One who, actually they were judged by the strength. Being fat, let me call it being fat, is one who is able to take care of a family. So in terms of body size, she was expected to be built, both in front and behind, and curvy, and a thick foot, a woman who could walk in the compound and people would be able to understand that this is a woman who has been married in a home. In my language, or in my community, when a girl was married, she used to be told, senolwani, yani walk in your compound until people know that you are around. So that gave her the courage to feel like the owner and take control, take charge of her homestead or her family. So this was a great thing, which made the men to be able to know that they have somebody in their home. So we'll also be looking at how they perceive of what taking care is, or being the homemaker. Is she still the one who is able to take care of her husband, because that is why she was married? Is it rated in terms of the number of children she's able to have? Is she the one who is able to take care of her husband and her children? Is it only in terms of washing clothes, taking care of her husband, ensuring that his belly is full, taking care of the children? Is it also now about education or academics? Is she concerned? Is she the one who is taking care of their homework, for example? What about religion? We know that Africans are notoriously religious. So we want to find out, in terms of religion, what is the African woman expected to do? Are they still doing it? What role do they play to ensure that spiritually their children are growing up in a manner in which they are expected to be African women? Then we will also be looking at when their children are growing. For example, when they are teens, what sort of information or what role does the African woman play in ensuring that her children are moving from one stage to another? For example, what is the guidance that they are giving to the girl child? If they have a daughter, or even in the community, what role are they playing to ensure that that community, certain age, are moving from one stage to another? Do they have talks with their girl child? And if they do, what sort of things do they talk about? What about the boy child? Is it still the expectation that their husbands, their fathers are the ones who are supposed to guide them? We know that things have changed. There's a lot of lifestyle issues. In some communities, I know the men are absent. They have become alcoholics, or whether they've become workaholics. So the boy child is wavering. How is the woman, African woman, ensuring that the boy child is not left behind? Are they also moving into that situation? We'll also look at issues to do with widows. How are they able to embrace the role of both the husband who is not there, and them. What is the community's participation in ensuring that an African woman is growing, is well guarded against danger and the rest? Wealth creation. Yeah. What is the African woman's role? Are they just seated there and expecting their husbands to move and try to look for wealth? Are they now are they also having opportunities to be working women, working mothers? What are the challenges they face? Does that affect their roles in the homestead? Does that affect the way they are raising their children? Does that affect their participation in church, in community development? Are they able to take up roles? Are they allowed anyway? What challenges do they face? Are they facing like discrimination in terms of the way people are viewing them? Is it making them shy of, or are they the ones who are separating the others from them? Or are they rated highly? So let us know if you have any other ideas so that we are able to discuss, because this channel is going to help many. I know there are those who are in the younger generation who may not really know who an African woman was meant to be and think that it was totally bad. Are there things that we can pick from behind, those days about who a real African woman is? What were the pros and the cons? What is it that we have left out? And is there a way in which, as they grow up, they are able to pick some of these good practices and move with them? So I think this is going to be a very interesting discussion, and we will see how different people perceive of an African woman. We may be aping or looking like the Western culture is better than the African culture. Maybe yes, maybe no. And we will be able to find out whether some of these things that we have copied are really working for us. Is it necessary for us to change? Is it a good thing? Is it a good practice? So yeah, those are some of the things I think we will be able to figure out here. And I'm actually looking at trying to have variety. Just visit a region and be able to come up with some of those issues. We'll also mix it with trying to find out what their perception in terms of health issues, nutrition, cooking practices, cultural issues around their community, child rearing, for example. What are these practices that are passed from one generation to another? What does the African girl think about getting into womanhood? Are they given enough, do they have enough of what it takes, enough information, or do they just get into it without any prior information? Do they just jump into it? There's this saying that says in marriage there's no formula. Yes, there could be no formula. You can do it the way you want, but it is also good to have it from some point of knowledge, so that when you're making decisions of, I can do this, I can do that, or we should carve it this way, I am not certain that we can just say you just dive into it and you continue. Must an African woman have a family? We are seeing there's a generational issue where some girls are afraid of getting into marriage, and they are saying marriage is a scam. Really? Let us know why they think it is a scam. Is it because of the freedom they require? Do they feel like the African man has really not overshadowed them, but takes away some of their freedom? Is it that they are afraid, or they do not want to be sort of boxed up? Do they see marriage like a place where they are boxed in? They're not able to air their views. They're not able to act them. Is it any different? Because in the African what I know, if you talk to maybe women who are in their 70s and above, they will tell you that some of them, they didn't have the opportunity to choose who their spouses are. Most of them were arranged for. Some of them was just by force. But eventually they learned, because of the way they are brought up, they learned to love the person, and the relationship worked, and they have been together with very few issues. But the modern woman, modern African woman, selects, has the opportunity to choose. They even have courtship for a long time. But we have so many challenges of breakups, heartbreaks, until they're afraid to try again. So thank you for watching this video, and I welcome you to give us more suggestions how you want us to be able to carve this channel of African moms. Do we change the name to African mothers? No, I don't think African mothers. Do we call it African women? Maybe. So we will continue with it as African Moms World, which is really about what I will be at the center. So it's about me and what I'm able to bring to the channel. Or we can change it. So thank you for watching, and you're welcome to the next video.